My name is Harold Bennett. I am 68 years old, and for 31 years, I drove a school bus through the snow-covered streets of Calgary. These tired hands have gripped a steering wheel through blizzards, ice storms, and everything the Alberta winters could throw at me. I retired 5 years ago, just a few months after my wife Margaret lost her battle with cancer. But before I tell you how everything fell apart, please click the like button, subscribe to Shattered Vengeance, and comment where you are watching from. Your support means more than you know. Dad, you cannot stay in Calgary all alone. Come live with us in Vancouver. The weather is milder, and you will have family around you. My son said those words with such warmth in his voice. He had flown all the way from British Columbia for Margaret's funeral, and he stayed an extra week to help me sort through her belongings. Every sweater I folded, every photograph I found, felt like losing her all over again. I agreed. What else could I do? The house felt enormous without her. Every room echoed with memories I was not ready to face alone. I sold our home in Calgary, the house where I had raised my son, where Margaret and I had built 35 years of memories. The sale brought in $120,000. Combined with my pension savings and the small life insurance payout from Margaret, I had about $85,000 tucked away. It was not a fortune, but it was my safety net, my security for whatever years I had left. My son and his wife had a nice house in Surrey, just outside Vancouver. They converted the basement into a small suite for me. It had its own bathroom, a tiny kitchenette, and enough space for my belongings. I was grateful. I really was. From the very first month, I insisted on contributing. I gave my son $1,500 every month from my pension. That is most of what I receive from CPP and my small company pension combined. "Dad, you do not have to give us so much," he said the first time I handed him the check. "Nonsense. I am living under your roof, eating your food, using your utilities. It is only fair." He did not argue after that. In fact, after the first few months, he stopped mentioning it at all. The checks simply became expected. My routine was simple. I woke up early, made breakfast for the family, and walked my grandson to school when the weather was nice. My grandson was 8 years old then, a bright-eyed boy who loved dinosaurs and asked a million questions. After school, I helped him with his homework, played video games with him, and told him stories about driving the bus through snowstorms so bad I could barely see the hood of my own vehicle. My daughter-in-law was polite but distant. She worked long hours at a marketing firm downtown, and when she came home, she was usually too tired for conversation. I tried not to take it personally. Young people have busy lives. It was a Thursday morning in late October when everything changed. The rain was coming down hard, that relentless Vancouver rain that seeps into your bones. My son had taken the day off work, which was unusual. I heard voices in the living room upstairs, his and another man's voice, deeper, more commanding. I was folding laundry in my basement suite when curiosity got the better of me. I climbed the stairs quietly, not wanting to interrupt. As I reached the top, I heard words that made my heart stop. "Listen, Michael needs $40,000 to keep the restaurant afloat. If he does not get it by the end of the month, he is going to lose everything." That was my daughter-in-law's father speaking. I had met him a handful of times over the years. He owned a struggling Italian restaurant in Burnaby, the kind of place that had been there for decades but could never quite turn a profit. My son's response came next, casual, dismissive, like he was discussing the weather. "Do not worry about it. I will just use my dad's account. He has got plenty saved up. He will not even notice if I move some money around." I gripped the doorframe so hard my knuckles turned white. My son's account? Move money around? I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. He is loaded anyway. All that pension money just sitting there. What is he going to spend it on? That was my daughter-in-law's voice. I had never heard her speak about me like that. Loaded. As if my life savings, everything I had worked for over 3 decades of early mornings and icy roads, was just spare change lying around. I must have made a sound because the conversation stopped abruptly. "Is someone there?" my daughter-in-law's father asked. I heard footsteps approaching. I retreated down the stairs as quietly as I could, my heart pounding so loud I was sure they could hear it. In my basement suite, I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at my hands. They were shaking. These hands that had safely delivered thousands of children to school over 31 years, now trembling because of words spoken by my own family. Loaded. Plenty saved up. He will not even notice. I pulled out my phone and logged into my banking app. My savings account showed $82,416. I had spent a little over the years on gifts for my grandson, on contributing to household expenses beyond my monthly payment, on small things here and there. But the bulk of it was still there. My security, my dignity. I scrolled through my account settings until I found what I was looking for. I removed my son as a joint account holder. When Margaret was sick, I had added him in case of emergency, in case something happened to me while I was caring for her. I had forgotten to change it back. The realization hit me like a freight train. He had full access to my money. For 5 years, he could have taken anything he wanted. Had he already? I checked my transaction history going back months. Nothing unusual, but the intention was there. He was planning to take $40,000 without even asking me. That night, I barely slept. Every creak of the floorboards above me sounded like footsteps coming to confront me. But no one came. Life continued, as if nothing had happened. The next morning, my son knocked on my door. His smile was the same smile he had always worn, the smile of the little boy I had driven to hockey practice on frozen Saturday mornings. "Hey, Dad, I was wondering if you could help me out with something. My father-in-law's restaurant is going through a rough patch, and he needs a short-term loan. I figured with your savings just sitting there, maybe you could help the family out?" I studied his face, looking for any trace of shame, any acknowledgement that he was asking for my life savings. I found nothing but that easy, expectant smile. "How much are we talking about?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. "About 40,000. But we would pay you back, of course. Within a year, maybe 2. $40,000. Half of everything I had." "I need to think about it," I said. His expression flickered, just for a moment, a flash of frustration quickly hidden behind another smile. "Sure, Dad. Take your time. But he really needs an answer soon. The bank is breathing down his neck." After he left, I called my old friend from Calgary, Doug. We had driven buses together for 20 years before he retired to Victoria. "Harold, what they are doing is not right," Doug said after I explained the situation. "That money is yours. You worked your whole life for it. But he is my son. Maybe I am overreacting." "Overreacting?" "They were planning to take $40,000 without your permission. That is not a misunderstanding, Harold. That is theft." Doug's wife got on the phone. She was a retired social worker. "Harold, listen to me. What you are describing sounds like financial elder abuse. It happens more often than people think, and it is almost always family members. You need to protect yourself." Her words stayed with me long after I hung up. Financial elder abuse. I had heard the term before, but never imagined it would apply to me, to my family. That weekend, I made a decision. I took the SkyTrain downtown to a branch of my bank and opened a new account at a completely different institution. I transferred all but $5,000 from my old account. If my son checked the balance, he would see there was barely anything left. I also started looking at apartments. Nothing fancy, just small bachelor units or one-bedroom places in the suburbs. The prices were shocking. Vancouver had become so expensive since I last paid attention. But there were a few options in Langley, maybe New Westminster, places where my pension could stretch far enough. The explosion came sooner than I expected. "Dad, what happened to your savings account?" My son burst into my basement suite without knocking. His face was red, his eyes wild. "What do you mean?" I asked calmly. Though my heart was racing, I checked the balance. There is barely anything in there. "Where did all your money go?" "I removed you from the account," I said, meeting his eyes. "And I moved my money somewhere safe." "Safe? Safe from what?" "From being taken without my permission." The color drained from his face. He knew I had heard them. He knew, and he could not deny it. "Dad, that was just talk. I was never going to actually take your money without asking. But you were going to ask. And you expected me to say yes." "Of course I expected you to say yes. We are family. Family helps each other. I have been helping. I have given you $1,500 every month for 5 years. I have watched your son every day after school. I have cooked, cleaned, fixed things around this house. Is that not help? My daughter-in-law appeared behind my son, her arms crossed. Mr. Bennett, she said in that cold, professional voice she used when she was upset, with all due respect, your contributions do not come close to covering what it costs to house you. Do you have any idea how much the basement renovation cost? How much extra we spend on groceries, on utilities, on everything? I contribute $1,500 a month, I replied, keeping my voice steady. That is $18,000 a year, $90,000 over 5 years. How much did the renovation cost? She did not answer. She did not have to. I already knew the renovation had cost around $30,000. I was paying for it 3 times over. Dad, this is ridiculous, my son cut in. You are acting paranoid. We are your family. We have your best interests at heart. My best interests? I heard you say I was loaded. I heard her say I would not notice if you moved money around. Is that having my best interests at heart? My daughter-in-law's father arrived the next day. He drove a Mercedes, wore an expensive watch, and carried himself like a man who expected the world to bend to his will. Watching him park in the driveway, I felt a chill run down my spine. Mr. Bennett, he said, extending his hand with a smile that did not reach his eyes. I think we got off on the wrong foot. Let me explain my situation. We sat in the living room, my son and daughter-in-law flanking him like bodyguards. My restaurant has been in the family for 40 years. My father opened it in 1983. It has survived recessions, pandemics, everything. But this past year has been brutal. I need capital to keep it going, just until the economy recovers. I understand business can be difficult, I said carefully, but I fail to see how that concerns my savings. His smile tightened. Mr. Bennett, we are all family here. My daughter married your son. That makes us connected. When family needs help, family steps up. I have stepped up for 5 years. I have contributed more than my share to this household. Your share? He leaned forward, his voice hardening. You live here rent-free. You have meals cooked for you. You have your grandson's company. And all we are asking is for a temporary loan to help during a crisis. Rent-free? I pay $1,500 a month. He waved his hand dismissively. That barely covers anything in Vancouver. Do you know what basement suites rent for in this market? $2,000, $2,500 at least. Then perhaps I should find one of those apartments. At least then I would know exactly what I am paying for. The room went silent. My son looked at me with something between shock and panic. Dad, what are you talking about? You are not moving out. Why not? I am clearly a burden. My contributions are not enough. My presence is tolerated only because you expect access to my savings. That is not true, my daughter-in-law said, but her voice lacked conviction. Her father stood up, his expression cold. Mr. Bennett, I tried to be reasonable. But if you refuse to help your family, there are other options. Such as? He straightened his jacket, looking down at me. You are 68 years old, living in a basement. You have made some questionable decisions lately. Transferring large sums of money, becoming secretive, paranoid. A doctor might consider these early signs of cognitive decline. The threat hung in the air like poison. You are threatening to have me declared incompetent, I said slowly, because I refuse to give you $40,000. I am saying that sometimes families need to step in when elderly relatives are no longer capable of making sound decisions. It is for their own protection. My son said nothing. My daughter-in-law said nothing. Their silence was the loudest confirmation I could have received. I stood up, my legs steadier than I expected. I think this conversation is over. Please leave my suite. Her father smirked. Think about what I said, Mr. Bennett. Think carefully. That night, I called Doug again. I told him everything. The threats, the silence of my son and daughter-in-law, the fear creeping into my bones. You need a lawyer, Doug said without hesitation. A real one who knows about elder rights. The next morning, I took the SkyTrain to a legal clinic downtown that specialized in seniors' issues. The lawyer who met with me was a young woman named Patricia. maybe 35, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense manner. "Mr. Bennett, what you are describing is textbook financial elder abuse and coercion," she said after I finished my story. "The threats about declaring you incompetent are particularly serious." "Can they actually do that?" "It is extremely difficult without solid evidence of cognitive impairment. You are clearly lucid, you manage your own finances, and you live independently. No court would take their petition seriously. But if they try anyway, then we fight back. I would recommend getting a comprehensive cognitive assessment from an independent geriatrician, updating your will and power of attorney to exclude anyone who might have conflicts of interest, and documenting everything. Every conversation, every threat, every interaction." I followed her advice to the letter. I got tested by a specialist at Vancouver General Hospital, who confirmed I was in excellent cognitive health for my age. Patricia helped me update my legal documents, naming Doug and his wife as my emergency contacts and power of attorney instead of my son. 2 weeks later, I found an apartment. It was a small one-bedroom in New Westminster, on the 3rd floor of a quiet building near the river. The rent was $1,200 a month, well within my budget. The landlord, an older Vietnamese woman named Mrs. Nguyen, reminded me of Margaret. She had the same gentle smile. I started packing my belongings in secret, waiting for the right moment to leave. But my grandson complicated everything. "Grandpa, why is everyone so angry all the time?" he asked one afternoon, while we were building a Lego spaceship together. "Grown-up problems, buddy. Nothing for you to worry about." "Is it about money?" "Mom and Dad talk about money a lot. And Grandpa Vincent says mean things about you." I set down the Lego piece I was holding. "What kind of mean things?" "He says you are selfish. He says old people who do not share are going to end up alone. He says he knows a doctor who can make you share." My blood ran cold. They were talking about this in front of a child, discussing their plans to have me declared incompetent where my grandson could hear. "Listen to me," I said, kneeling down to his level. "Grown-ups sometimes disagree about things, but no matter what happens, I will always be your grandpa, and I will always love you. Okay?" He nodded, though I could see the confusion in his eyes. 2 days later, I moved out. I waited until everyone had left for work and school, then called a moving company. It did not take long. Most of what I owned fit in a few boxes. I left a letter on the kitchen table explaining that I had found my own place and that I would be in touch about visiting my grandson. The calls started within hours. "Dad, where are you? Your suite is empty. What is going on?" I let it ring through to voicemail. "Mr. Bennett, this is incredibly irresponsible. Think about what you are doing." "Delete." "Grandpa, where did you go? Mom is crying and Dad is yelling at the phone." That one I answered. "I am okay, buddy. I just got my own apartment. You can visit whenever you want." The barrage continued for days. My son oscillated between anger and pleading. My daughter-in-law threatened legal action without specifying what kind. Her father left a single voicemail in that cold, measured tone of his. "Mr. Bennett, this is not over. You cannot run away from your responsibilities to your family. We will find you, and we will resolve this properly." A week after I moved, they found my new address. I do not know how. Maybe they hired someone. Maybe they tracked my phone. Maybe they simply asked around. But one evening, there was a knock at my door. I checked the peephole. My son stood in the hallway, alone. He looked exhausted, older than his 42 years. I opened the door, but did not invite him in. "Can we talk?" he asked quietly. "We are talking." "Dad, please. This has gotten out of hand." "Out of hand?" "Your father-in-law threatened to have me declared incompetent because I would not give him $40,000. You and your wife said nothing. You let him threaten me in your own home. I did not think he was serious. But you did not stop him either." My son looked at the floor. "I know I messed up, Dad. I should have said something. I should have stood up for you. But you have to understand. My father-in-law has been helping us for years. When the kids came along, when money was tight, he always stepped in. And now he expects me to return the favor. It is not like that." "Then, what is it like?" "Explain it to me. Because from where I am standing, it looks like you were ready to let him railroad me just to keep him happy." He did not have an answer. I closed the door. The next few weeks were the hardest of my life. I missed my grandson terribly. I missed the routine, the purpose of being needed. But every time I felt weak, I remembered those words. He is loaded. He will not even notice. Patricia, my lawyer, kept me updated. Apparently, my son's father-in-law had been asking around about guardianship procedures, consulting with doctors, building a case. But without any evidence of actual impairment, he had nothing to work with. They are hoping you will give up, Patricia said, that the isolation will break you down. Do not let it. I threw myself into making my new apartment a home. I bought a few pieces of furniture, hung some pictures, set up a small workshop in the corner where I could tinker with things. Fixing broken clocks, repairing electronics, small projects that kept my hands busy and my mind sharp. Mrs. Nguyen, my landlord, became an unexpected friend. She brought me homemade fur, and we talked about our lives. She had lost her husband 10 years ago and had raised 3 children on her own. She understood loneliness. Your family, she said one evening as we sat in her living room. They do not see you clearly. They see what they want from you, not who you are. She was right. For 5 years, I had been the useful old man in the basement, the babysitter, the cook, the monthly check. Never a person with my own needs, my own dignity. The confrontation I had been dreading came in early December. My son called to invite me to Christmas dinner. A peace offering, he said. We want to put this behind us, Dad. Start fresh. For my grandson's sake. I agreed to come, though every instinct told me it was a mistake. Christmas Day was gray and drizzly, typical Vancouver winter weather. I took 2 buses to get to their house, carrying a bag of presents for my grandson. When I walked through the door, the first thing I saw was my daughter-in-law's father sitting in the living room, drink in hand, watching me with those calculating eyes. It is a family gathering, my son said when he saw my expression. Of course he would be here. I almost turned around and left. But then my grandson came running down the stairs, launching himself into my arms. Grandpa, you came. I missed you so much. I stayed for him. Dinner was tense. Conversation was stilted, punctuated by long silences and awkward glances. I could feel her father watching me, waiting for something. It came after dessert. Mr. Bennett, he said, setting down his wine glass. This family situation has gone on long enough. I think it is time we discuss things like reasonable adults. I agree. So, let me be clear. I am not lending you $40,000. I am not lending you any amount. My money is my own, and it will stay that way. His jaw tightened. You know, Mr. Bennett, stubbornness is often an early sign of dementia. Inability to see reason, paranoid thinking, isolating yourself from family. I have a letter from a geriatrician at VGH stating, I am in perfect cognitive health. I replied calmly. Dated last month. Would you like to see it? The table went silent. What? My son asked. I also have a lawyer, I continued. She specializes in elder abuse cases. She has documented every threat you have made, every attempt to pressure me into giving up my savings. If you pursue this incompetency route, I will file charges. You cannot be serious, my daughter-in-law said. We are your family. Family does not threaten to strip away someone's autonomy because they refuse to hand over money. Family does not talk about declaring someone incompetent in front of an 8-year-old child. Her father stood up, his face red. This is absurd. I was trying to help. The restaurant needs capital, and you have money sitting around doing nothing. It is doing something. It is providing me with security, independence, and dignity. 3 things you have tried to take away. My grandson was watching from the doorway, his eyes wide. I hated that he had to see this, but I was done hiding. I am leaving now, I said, standing up. My grandson, you are welcome to visit me any time, but I will not come back to this house. I walked out into the December drizzle. My son followed me. Dad, wait, please. I turned around. What, son? I am sorry. I am truly sorry. I should have stopped this a long time ago. I should have protected you instead of going along with everything. Then why did you not? He looked down at his feet, rain dripping from his hair. Because I was scared. My father-in-law has helped us so much over the years, and I did not want to lose that. And I guess I took you for granted. I thought you would always be there, always help, always say yes. I thought about Margaret, about what she would say if she were here. She would want me to forgive him. She always believed in second chances. I love you, son. I always will, but I cannot trust you anymore. And trust, once broken, takes a very long time to rebuild. He nodded, tears mixing with the rain on his face. Can I at least bring my grandson to visit? Of course, he is innocent in all of this. The months that followed were difficult but healing. My grandson visited every other weekend. We went to Science World, walked along the Fraser River, built model airplanes in my little apartment. His visits were the highlight of my weeks. My son and I spoke occasionally, brief and polite. He told me his father-in-law's restaurant had finally closed, that her father had moved to Calgary to start over. I felt nothing, no satisfaction, no vindication, just relief that he was gone. My daughter-in-law never apologized. I did not expect her to. In March, on what would have been Margaret's 72nd birthday, I took flowers to the cemetery in Calgary. Doug picked me up from the airport, and we visited her grave together. She would be proud of you, Doug said as we stood in the spring sunshine. You stood up for yourself. I hope so, I said, touching her headstone. I hope she understands. That evening, my grandson called. Grandpa, guess what? I got an A on my science project. The one about the solar system. Remember how you helped me with the planets? I remember, buddy. I am so proud of you. Can you come to the science fair next month, please? I will be there. I would not miss it for the world. When I hung up, I sat by my window and watched the sun set over New Westminster. At 68 years old, I had learned that family is not just about blood. It is about respect, honesty, and trust. My son had failed me, but he was trying to make amends. It would take time, maybe years, but the door was not completely closed. My savings, the money they had wanted so badly, remained safely in my account. I had set up a small trust fund for my grandson's education, inaccessible to his parents until he turned 18. The rest would see me through whatever years I had left. Mrs. Nguyen knocked on my door with a bowl of soup. You look happy today, Mr. Harold. I smiled. I am, Mrs. Nguyen. For the first time in a long time, I really am. Yesterday, my grandson asked me a question while we were assembling a model train. Grandpa, are you ever going to forgive Mom and Dad? I put down the tiny locomotive and looked at him. Forgiving is important, buddy. It keeps your heart from getting heavy. But forgiving does not mean forgetting. And it does not mean letting people hurt you again. So you forgive them, but you do not live with them? Exactly. I can love your dad and still choose to live my own life. Some things, once broken, cannot go back to the way they were. But that does not mean they cannot become something new. He thought about this for a moment. I think I understand. It is like when I broke my favorite toy and Dad fixed it. It works, but you can still see the crack. That is exactly right, buddy. You can still see the crack. As I write this, sitting in my small apartment with the spring rain tapping against my window, I think about everything that happened. The betrayal, the threats, the painful discovery that my own son saw me as nothing more than a source of money. But I also think about the good things. My friendship with Mrs. Nguyen, my strengthened bond with my grandson, my own hard-won independence. At 68, I have learned that dignity is not something anyone can give you or take away. It comes from within, from knowing your own worth, from refusing to be treated as less than you deserve. My son once asked me if the money was worth destroying our family. I told him the money was never the point. The point was respect. The point was being seen as a person, not a walking bank account. The point was my right to choose what to do with my own life. He did not understand then. I hope he understands now. If my story moved you, if it made you think about the value of dignity at any age, please leave a comment and subscribe to Shattered Vengeance. It is never too late to stand up for yourself, to say enough is enough, and to start over. I did it at 68. You can do it too.